All right. So I hope you all had a great Thanksgiving break. Per usual, I'm going to go ahead and show you that video I made of the water sampling, and then we're going to get into insect ID. And with that, you're going to need your computer. So I hope you have computers available. If not, then you can rewatch this later. If you do have a computer, so that you can play along. Because I have a little game I want to play later. But for now, let me go ahead and show you the video that I was making.
Hello everyone. So once again we're in a new place, and this time it's our first time that our water has reached a lake. In the past we've been at springs and on different rivers, but at a lake water has a lot more time to sit and just have stuff happen to it. So you'll see this water is pretty dark, kind of like how those two rivers that combined last week, it's kind of dark like that one was. Now, like I was saying before, having more still water can sometimes provide a lack of oxygen in that water and allow for more nutrients to build up. One benefit of this slower moving water is it can allow plants to take off, so I'll go and show you some pictures of some plants later, but it's also good for fish eggs. Fish eggs, if they get stirred around too much, they can sometimes die, but in this still water, it's a perfect breeding ground for eggs. Once again, we can see this water is fairly dark. I'll show you some pictures of it later. But it's so dark that I can't even see 6 inches a foot into this water. It's very, very dark water. Now, usually whenever I see this darker water, usually I see stuff floating around in that water too. With this water sample, there's almost nothing floating around, and so my guess would be is that all of these plants are sucking up the nutrients in the water and allowing nothing to just float around.
So basically, all I was saying is it was a really cold day and we tested that water, but because water can hold heat so well, it stayed a relatively neutral temperature, a normal temperature. So it's 25 degrees Celsius. So you can check that off now. As for the pH, so whenever something's really rocky or has a rocky bottom, usually it's really acidic or it has like that soury, like acid, sour taste. Or look to it. Well, with that being said, this water is pretty neutral. And my hypothesis of why this is the case, or my little guess, is that all those plants helped make it more basic. And so this really acidic water because of the rocks and this really basic plant water kind of broke it in the middle to that neutral pH. I didn't really show a good picture of it. I wish I did. There was almost no oxygen in this water. And I really couldn't explain why, but there was really low oxygen for as much plants as there were. And so my guess is all of the oxygen is getting sucked out of the water by the plants and being released out in the air. And I can tell that because there's a bunch of floating plants, and floating plants are sucking nutrients from the water and bringing it out into the air, which is good for people who breathe air like us, but it's bad for the fish underwater because fish need oxygen too. So low oxygen. As for turbidity, there wasn't much stuff floating around like I had mentioned, but that water was super, super dark. And so I'd put it at mostly cloudy, like it's getting close to cannot see the bottom. It was super, super dark. It's just that stain to the water, making it kind of look like tea. Now I mentioned earlier that there was salinity. Salinity happened from those rocks. So inside rocks, you can get salt that's just built up. And as water erodes away, you start getting the weathering to occur. You can get salts from the rock. And so this is very little salt. So there's still some salt, but not enough to actually call it salt water. As for clues of where I was at, this was probably one of the hardest weeks for you to get clues. So it'll be easier after this, but that place was pretty hard. All right, so now back to the skill, which is the part I'm super excited for because I'm covered with insects all around me. So let me go ahead and let's see, what can I show you first? Well, first I gotta explain what an insect is. So let me go and share that first. All right, so insect basics. I gotta explain what an insect is to begin with. So first let's go and talk about why insects are important, what insects are, those kinds of things. So You may have heard of snakes shedding their skin. Well, insects are the same way. So why a snake sheds its skin is because its skin can't grow, and so it sheds its skin as it grows. Insects are the same exact way, where they'll shed their skin, or their molt is what they would call it. And you can see that in the top right there. The insect is shedding his outermost layer to become a bigger insect. So he breaks out of his shell. As for the life cycle of an insect, starts out as an egg, like most things do in this world, goes to a larva, a pupa, and then an adult. Now, in some insects, it just becomes a bigger version, like the larva just turns into a bigger version of the adult form, or a smaller version of the adult form, sorry. But in other things like butterflies, it'll turn into a caterpillar, and then it'll have a complete metamorphosis, or it turns into a whole other animal. So examples of this be like a beetle just goes to a bigger and bigger beetle, but a butterfly will go from a caterpillar to the butterfly. As for why insects are important, they're important for pollination, so to help get flowers to grow. They're important for taking seeds from one place to the next, but also for decomposers, that's the word. So you may have heard of producers before. So producers are like grasses, and they're like the starting of the food chain. Well, decomposers are the other end of that spectrum. So after that predator dies, or a carnivore poops out its food, the decomposer breaks down that food into smaller bits that can be broken down and used as producers again, because grass needs nutrients. So these decomposers break down these bigger things into smaller things. So beetles are really good for that. You may have heard of a dung beetle before. As for what an insect is, insects are they look like many different things, but it comes down to a very few things that are similar. So what I mean by that is all insects have 6 legs. So that's one of the basic rules of what an insect is. And so you can see on the top left corner, there's 1, 2, 3 legs on one side. So double that to the other side has 6 legs. But every single one of these drawings, there's 6 legs. Now they might have an antenna or those types of things, but they always have 6 legs. The other thing is they always have 3 body parts. So they'll have a head, like a body, and then they'll have their abdomen. So a thorax is what they call like the body area, or the abdomen is the bottom part. And all 3 of these examples, you can see a head, the thorax, and then an abdomen. And again, they all look very different. So let's get into that now. You'll have ants, which are insects, and ants, they crawl around. So they don't jump, they don't fly, they just crawl. Compare that to like a grasshopper, where again, they have the 3 body parts, the 6 legs, like I was talking about, but they jump to move around. So they're different from an ant even. Or you can have wings. So you have this over here on the right, which has wings, and it flies around, much like a butterfly does. So insects can look like very different things, depending on what insect they are. So let me go ahead and show you a few different insects that I have here. So let me stop sharing my screen. All right. So you have this insect here. Hopefully you can see it. Let me turn my background off so you can see better. All right. Hopefully you can see this insect here. Again, you can see a head, a thorax, and then the abdomen. And he's pretty shiny. You'll see this guy was pretty shiny. Another really shiny boy is, let me see, move my camera down a little bit. Super, super shiny, but again, he has the 6 legs, the 3 body parts, the head, thorax, abdomen. Bees or wasps, they're also insects, so again, but this guy flies, so he has wings. Now let me show you an example of not an insect. So you have a scorpion. You'll see a scorpion, he has pincers, he kind of looks like an insect, but he has multiple body parts. He has probably like 8 body parts all along the side. He's broken up into many different pieces. So he is not an insect. He also, I don't know if you can see, he has 8 legs. So he has 4 legs on one side. That's not an insect. You can't have 8 legs. Sorry, buddy. Now into one of my favorite insects. A dragonfly. Again, you can see his head. Oh, let me pick you back up. And you can see he has a head. It's really windy. Head, thorax, abdomen, just like every other one does, but this guy has wings. So again, insects can come in many different forms. Now for the one I think you're most excited for, which I'm gonna have you, I'm gonna just look at your heads up and down, or you can do thumbs up, thumbs down, if you think this next one is an insect or not an insect. You think it's an insect? No? Thumbs down? All right. Go ahead and tell me why. Go ahead and unmute yourself. Tell me why you think that's not an insect. I'll show it to you again.
Go ahead, Jasmine.
It's not an insect because it's a spider and it has more than 6 legs.
There you go.
Oh, it also has fur.
Give yourself a round of applause. Good job.
Good job. That's what I wanted to hear. Awesome. All right. So now we're going to get down to, you're going to go and tell me which ones are insects and which ones aren't. So we're going to do another little game. So let me go ahead and pull my slides back up for you. All right. So I have 5 insects, or sorry, 5 things on the screen. You have to tell me which ones are not insects. You can unmute yourself. Tell me which ones you think are not insects.
Okay, go ahead.
I think it's not.
No, what is it? Speak up. It's not, number 1 is not an insect, you're saying? Does anyone disagree with him? Go ahead, Emma.
Number 1 is an insect because he has 6 legs.
And 3 body parts. Yep.
And you
I
can
got
see
a
'em.
question for Mr.
Okay,
Ivory.
go ahead, Alex. Alex has a question for you. Come here, Alex, right here. The camera's right there.
What, have you ever read who would win Hornet versus Wasp?
Has you ever read Hornet versus Wasp? Is that a
Yeah.
comic strip?
It's weird, but it is on who would win.
Okay. He wants to know if you ever read Hornet versus Wasp.
I've never read that before, but I guess I have to now.
Okay, number 2. Is number 2 an insect or not?
No.
No, look at all those legs. That's so many legs. I can't even count them all. There's probably like 100 legs there.
I have
100 legs.
What about number 3? What do you guys think about 3?
Yes, it got legs.
It's a butterfly. What do you think? Go ahead.
It got legs.
How many legs does it have? Can you see them?
I don't know if you can see his legs.
4 legs.
Okay.
Go
ahead, Jasmine. One at a time. You guys got to raise your hand. Jasmine, go ahead.
Number 3 is a bug. It's a butterfly.
Yeah. It's harder to see his 3 body parts, and you can't see his legs is on the bottom side, but he does have 3 body parts. He has a head. You can see that darker purple color is his thorax, and then he has that skinnier part, which is his abdomen. It's harder to see, but everyone knows butterflies are insects. You got that one right.
Good job. All right. What about number 4? Addison, listen up. One at a time. Addison, speak up, Addison.
Yes.
Why?
It has 3 body parts. Yes, it does.
Okay. We're saying
Yep.
it's to number 4. Good job. And the last one.
Last one.
Let me see if I can move the picture out of the way. Number 5. What do you guys think?
That's just a practice shot.
Is it insect? Shh, quiet. Go ahead, Alex. Why is it not?
It's not an insect.
Tell me.
It's not an insect because it's not because it has 8 legs.
Good job. Awesome.
Good job, you guys. Okay. Good
All
job.
right. Good job. So now that I've kind of like taught you what an insect is and you guys have absolutely mastered it, we can move into, on your worksheet, you'll see there's this little link on there, and it's a link to a guide to teach you how to identify different insects. And it'll have different pictures for you, and you have to figure out which 3 insects are these. Now, if you have a computer, you can do that now, or if you don't have a computer now, you can go and do that later. And I can send you this link to this video or to this PowerPoint so you can show them later if you'd like.
Yep, we have the link and I can put that up. We just can't see you if I put it on my big screen, but we
Okay.
can hear you.
Okay. Then I will send you an email of the link to this PowerPoint so that you can put it up and deal with them later if you'd like.
Okay.
So I have these three, which are the ones are tested on. This is the one that's on the handout. But I also want you, if you want the challenge, to figure out what this one is. So I'm going to tell you a hint now that this isn't on the guide where there's pictures. You have to go through what's called a key. You have to click on it. Does it have links? Does it not have links? And all those sorts of questions. And that guide is at the bottom of that link. There's a little thing that says, is your bug not on here? Your insect not on here? Click this link. That's what that one is. So the first three are on that slide. The next one is not on there. So if you want the challenge, it's there.